Good evening, friends and visitors to Albania, and welcome back once again to our English Flash News edition. As usual, I'm Daniel Cook, your host, 6 days a week at 6 p.m. For those of you who have not picked up this news already from the Albanian editions, a ferry carrying 478 passengers caught fire yesterday afternoon in the middle of the Adriatic Sea. The accident happened at about 4:30 yesterday afternoon, and rescue teams were dispatched from Albania, Italy, and Greece to try and save all the passengers on board. The Italian ferry was chartered by a Greek ferry operator and was sailing from Patros in western Greece to Ancona in Italy. All of the remaining passengers have been evacuated from the ferry, which caught fire just off the island of Corfu, the Italian officials say. 8 people have now been confirmed dead in the accident, out of 478 that were aboard the ship. The captain of the ferry was the last to be rescued more than 36 hours after sending out a distress signal. The Coast Guard has said that the ship is being inspected now to decide how to transport it as well as where it should be taken. More than 450 passengers were rescued in a long and complex operation that took place amid gale force winds and thick smoke. It is still unclear what caused the fire to break out in the automobile deck of the ferry. The Italian prosecutor announced that they have opened a criminal investigation into the fire and that they will also look into whether negligence played any role. From the preliminary data, it seems possible that the fire may have been set intentionally. The perpetrators may have been trying to sink the ferry along with the passengers aboard it. In the first 3 hours of the emergency situation, around 150 people were able to escape on the vessel's lifeboats. However, when the ferry lost power, the electronic arms that lower the lifeboats were unable to function, leaving the rest of the boats dangling uselessly on the sides of the boat. The first of the rescue ships, which was carrying 49 people rescued from the ferry, arrived in the Italian port of Bari earlier this morning. Helicopter crews fitted with night vision equipment worked tirelessly throughout the night, trying to rescue the passengers despite the very difficult conditions. 100 people were lifted off the ferry during the night, according to the Italian Coast Guard. Most of the rescued passengers were transferred to nearby ships, but some of them had to be taken directly to the hospital. A Turkish man who was on board the Norman Atlantic told the local reporters, "I saw 4 people dead with my own eyes." The chief executive of the company that now owns the vessel, Carlo Vicentini, said that the ferry had passed a technical inspection very recently, despite a slight malfunction in one of the fire doors, according to Italy's ANSA news agency. The inspection confirmed that the boat was in full working order, he said, adding that the fire door had been repaired to the satisfaction of the inspectors. The Albanian Minister of Defense says that the 22 Albanians that were on board the burning ferry have been rescued and that they are out of danger for their lives. She made the following statement: I am glad about the successful evacuation of at least 22 Albanians who were on board, and also for all the other passengers. Unfortunately, 5 deaths have been verified so far. I believe that the identification of 4 other people will be made soon. Covelli said that a ship called Butrinti, which helped in the rescue operation, is now back at the base. The ship Lissus is still out on the rescue operation. In other news, Albania's independent trade unions have reacted to the recent increase in electricity prices. The head of the unions, Gazim Kalaya, made the statement that 2015 is going to begin with protests. The representative of the unions did not give a specific date, but he gave his assurance that protests are indeed coming. He anticipates that the citizens' participation in these protests will be great. In January, the union members will protest against the increase of electricity prices. The opposition intends to join this protest, as they did in the protest of November 22nd. Mr. Kalaya said that 72% of the Albanians are going to be directly affected by this price increase. According to him, this increase will affect the poorest among the Albanian people and not the richest. He emphasized the fact that the union members have always asked for discussion with the government, but the heads of the government never take their opinions and needs into consideration. The issue of opening up the files from the communist period is probably going to be discussed in the very first plenary session of the coming year. The new draft law has paved the way for the opening of these files, but it still needs to be approved by the Assembly. The Minister of Social Welfare, Erion Valiai, presented the draft, which according to him implements the decisions of the Constitutional Court and ends the blackmail. Earlier today, representatives of the civil society were at the Assembly, submitting yet another draft law for opening the files. This draft has been supported by some of the MPs. Speaking on their behalf, the Democratic Party MP, Mesila Doda, accused the government of trying to protect the former communist hangman. Mesila Doda was very direct in her accusations, mentioning several Socialist Party MPs by name. Now it remains to be seen which of these two drafts will gain the support of the Assembly. The Minister of Agriculture has made an appeal to the Albanian citizens to consume more domestic Albanian products rather than foreign products. The minister took part in an exhibition of Albanian products that have received the quality seal and that are being exported to other countries of the world. At the event, Minister Panariti promised more support to the Albanian production. The Vice Prime Minister Niko Peleshi was also present at the event. The exhibition was held at the premises of the Ministry of Agriculture with the purpose of displaying and promoting domestic products. The event also hopes to encourage the use of all the Albanians' agricultural potential and increase the exports. The Minister of Agriculture, Edmond Panariti, stated that the aim is to increase the exports of our country, which would bring development to our agricultural and production sectors and strengthen our economy. The Vice Prime Minister, Niko Peleshi, asked for farmers' cooperation in order to increase the standards of domestic production. At the conclusion of the event, the Minister of Agriculture presented some awards to the best winemakers. There was some heavy snowfall last night in certain areas of the country, leaving problematic situations along some of the nation's roads. According to the road authority, the movement of heavy vehicles has been disrupted from the segment of Fan up to Morin along the Reshen-Kalimash highway due to snow and frost. Smaller vehicles are allowed to pass through only with chains on their tires. Currently, 6 snowplows are hard at work on the national roads, trying to keep it clear for traffic. The plows are now clearing the road and spreading salt in their wake. The traffic police have left 4 police patrols at the most problematic points of the roads. The police are advising the drivers and checking whether or not the vehicles need chains on their tires. The most critical situation is in the southeast. On the road between Elbasan and Librajt, the snow is around 50 centimeters thick, and vehicles are being allowed to pass through only if they have chains on their tires. The roads are being strictly monitored by the traffic police. The most problematic roads are those between Pogradec and Shafthane, Korça and Kapshtice, and Perenjas and Librajt. These roads have been blocked for hours now, and travelers are advised to be cautious. The police and the road authority have issued orders that drivers must not travel these roads without chains on their tires, or else they will be penalized for blocking the traffic if they get stuck. 100 healthcare centers in the north and southeast of Albania have been freshly supplied with medical supplies in the wake of the dangerous weather conditions. The medicine was provided by the Compulsory Healthcare Fund, as a precaution in case of any emergencies that might arise in these isolated areas because of the heavy snowfall on the roads. The director of the Compulsory Healthcare Fund, Astrid Betsi, said that cooperation with the private hospitals has reduced the number of patients by half. This announcement by Mr. Betsi was made during a meeting that he held with journalists. The Minister of Integration, Dhjetor, has paid a visit to one of the homes for orphaned children here in Tirana. Minister Dhjetor closed her agenda for 2014 with a special visit to an orphanage for children up to 6 years old. She has made a public appeal for more love, attention, and support for these children. She says that these children need families. The minister also brought holiday gifts to the little ones. There are 32 children living in this particular institution, and most of them are about 1 year old. This concludes our news for this evening. Thank you for watching. Please join us again tomorrow at the same time for more translated news in English. Thank you and good night.